But it really seems like the onus is also on us, the public, to be vigilant. What are they expecting from us?
It is. The police are there and they're out in significant numbers, of course, joined in this fight against terrorism by the security services. They are doing that all of the time, 24/7, every day of the year. But the public have got a vital role to play as well. Now, we hear these messages, the public should be extra vigilant and not alarmed. What does that mean? Well, it just means kind of being aware of your surroundings, keeping an eye out for things out of the ordinary. If you see someone that you think is acting suspicious, people might be reluctant to call the police, but the police say, look, at the end of the day, you're not going to ruin that person's life, potentially, if they've not done anything wrong, but you might well save lives. We see it, for instance, after a terror attack. So just after Liverpool, we were getting reports of suspicious packages and the like. Now, that causes more work, of course, for the police, but they would much rather get the call, check it out, make sure it's nothing, than not get the call and it turns out to be something. So after an attack, it's right there. It's at the forefront of everybody's mind. So when you get on the tube or a bus or you're going through a train station and you see a bag that's discarded or someone acting suspiciously, you are much more probably tuned and willing to contact the police. After a few weeks, that kind of goes and people think, oh, well, it's probably nothing. Well, police are saying you need to adopt that approach all of the time, especially in the run-up to Christmas with crowded places and the like. That's when we are likely to see potentially more in the way of terrorist activity. We've seen it before. I was reporting from Berlin in 2016 when a terrorist there grabbed a lorry and drove it into a Christmas market. Crowded places is what they look for. It's hideous, I know, but they want to cause as much death and destruction as possible.
Yeah, I mean, how would being vigilant to suspicious behaviour have stopped an attack like that?
Well, I mean, it might have stopped the attack in terms of you can go further up the chain. When he was looking to commandeer that lorry, what was he doing? Was he, hanging about a lorry park, acting suspicious?
So we're not even talking about the day of attack.
Yeah. So
days, weeks before.
There's potentially an opportunity there.
Yeah.
Did you know this person? What was their behaviour like? What had they been saying in the weeks and months leading up to an attack? There's all kinds of opportunities we just maybe don't think of. Clues that in isolation you maybe think, that's not much. But you give it to the police and suddenly the jigsaw fits together and they've got a key piece of intelligence that might allow them to go and apprehend someone.
Yeah, and the cab driver in Liverpool, he was vigilant, wasn't he? And he did act quickly, so maybe the advice is feeding through.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt that, with the terror threat level following Liverpool going up to severe, there is real concern. It is, sadly, highly likely there will be another terrorist attack. That's what the severe level means. The only other level, the highest level, is critical. That means we're effectively in an attack phase, that an attack's been carried out, another one is about to be carried out. It's only been at that level a couple of times right in the midst of attacks, like back in 2017, when we had 5 terrorist attacks in the space of a year. We had a bit of a lull because you'll remember that we had a very concerted campaign to go after the Islamic State in particular. And although that terrorist group has been degraded to a very large degree and scattered, it is regrouping in the Middle East, in the Philippines, in Africa, in other parts of the world. And what's never really been degraded is the propaganda arm, its ability to reach out to people in this country and elsewhere and to try to persuade those who are vulnerable to go and launch terrorist attacks. These are the people they look for. There's been real concern amongst the police and security services that during lockdown in particular, when people were at home, they were particularly vulnerable, susceptible to this kind of propaganda that, as I say, has never gone away. Yeah. That ability of the extremists to reach out to the vulnerable, to coerce them into doing something like this.
Considering that, can you see any time soon that threat level becomes reduced in the UK?
Oh, well, potentially, yes. Severe could go back down to substantial at any time, depending on what happens. I think it's probably likely to remain at severe over the Christmas period, just because of the heightened concerns there are about people who gather in crowded places at Christmas markets for concerts, office parties, all of the above. There's always concern at this time of year. But yeah, I mean, I think it could go down. Whether on the broader issue of the threat we face from international terrorism, particularly Islamist-related terrorism, there's no end to it. I don't think anytime soon. The groups are out there, they're regrouping, they're always looking to go after the West, to target us and our values. And we just have to be, as the police say, as vigilant as possible to try to do our part to ensure that, if we see anything, we might just be the difference, make the difference that prevents a terrorist atrocity.